Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we will cover this time the economic situation and the growing concern of most of people of failing to make ends meet, ends of expenditure and revenues or incomes. So people are now started resenting this increases, heavy increases in most of the prices of the commodities, the basic commodities. Maybe that's why we are dedicating this episode totally to the economic situation and how to deliver the country of an imminent collapse of the economy. That's why we are happy to host our friend Dr. Yasser Al-Abeid. Yasser Al-Abeid is known to most of the viewers, and he is an economist and he's an expert, and he works in many parts of the African continent, and he's also contributing a lot in many aspects and different areas in the media, local media or the international media. Welcome, Dr. Yasser Al-Abeid, to our episode of the economic conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faraz, of having me in this episode. My regards to you and to all the team of Dialogue Horizon and the home behind the cameras.
Okay, let us start first, Dr. Yasser, by the recent event, which is the third or the fourth increase of the fuel in 3 months. It was last week. There is a big jump in the increase, about 16% of the price of the gasoline and the diesel. So this increase definitely it's a big, and people are concerned, and they want to know. They are not happy. They know that Sudan, although it is minimum, produces about 73,000 barrels a day of petrol. Plus, Sudan gets about $25 per barrel of the oil coming from the south, which is around 120 or 120,000 barrel per day. So a little bit. Instead, in spite of all this, still the prices are going increasingly at small increments, small intervals of time. In 3 months, 4 increases. So this, as you know, as you are economist, this will have its impact on the basic commodities in the production, in the cost of the cost of production, actually, the variable cost of production, which will be reflected in the prices of the final product of the product. So, to what do you attribute this increase, and how to alleviate or to reduce the effect of the increase of the fuel on the different commodities? What's the reason? What's the reason behind is this something? Why? Who is minding the stores? Who is doing what in this area of increasing? Who decides to increase, and on what basis he increases?
Definitely, who is responsible with that is economic sector, which is in Minister of Finance, responsible about that. Since after the revolution, you think so, I think so, there is a lot of program which has not been clear for the public. Since the liberalization policies, and after that lifting of the subsidies, after that also following the recipe of the International Bank and IMF, International Monetary Fund, and trying just to follow the recipe, to follow the terms and conditions of the International Bank, until it came to this point, I think so, and trying just to liberalize all the commodities, especially the fuel, diesel and petrol and whatever. The prices all has been soaring up, and the increasement of the commodity has been very clear for the public, and how the people now they are suffering from that, and reflected to the rest of the life. Life has become so hard, I think so, at this time. And the problem of the policies, that is the main issue, and the problem of non-program facing the IMF and International Bank, only following all the recipe, following only the terms and conditions of the International Bank and the IMF. This is the resulting of this life now, and this is what we are, where we are now at this point. Yes, Sudan before is after the cession of Southern Sudan. Sudan is producing more than 150 per day. It came down up to 75. Now I think so. It is really less than that, even about 50 something. I think so, according to my knowledge. But also from the other side, from Southern Sudan, Sudan is not up to now not getting any. I think so from Southern Sudan, because still the agreement is not being activated, and they have so much problem, and it's not being exported. South Sudan has not been exported like what expected, because there is remaining 350,000 barrel per day should be produced, but it's not that producing that. Southern Sudan. Sudan should get the fees for the transportation and the fees for processing also. It has maybe something good, but
so right now it's not getting anything from the
it's not
south.
getting, because also we have a debt in Southern Sudan government. It's about $3 billion should be paid to Sudan. Up to now, it's not been paid. This became part of the debate between Sudan and Southern Sudan. But the problem, this is part of the issue in the economic. But the problem is for the whole economic. There is a lot of problems. You know, Sudan since it came to the revolution, and before that also we have so much problems. There's so much challenging on the economy. This is why it reached to this point now, and the policies with no stabilization, no stability at the political side and the security side. This is why a lot of things will be reflected to that, because most of the production areas is having so much problem, as you've seen in the media, tribalism problems and ethnic problems, and that is all clashes and war and conflict between the tribes, and that's really reflected to the economy directly, because that all is production area. Like Nile.
Okay, you remember, you mentioned something very important just before I forget it. In the past, before the hostage regime, because it was under isolation and full of sanctions, economic sanctions from America, from the different parts of the globe. That's why it suffered these sanctions. But at that time, till 2011, before the secession of the South, the government, the hostage regime government, could they could live with the sanctions because they have revenues from the oil exports. But immediately after the secession of the South on July 2011, things started to dwindle, coming down until it reached the climax when the regime was ousted by the revolution. Okay. After the revolution, for the first one or second 2 years, Dr. Yasser, things a little bit eased because sanctions started to be lifted and the international community started helping. But on the 25th of October last year, Sudan now is back to the same isolation of the hostage regime. But with the difference that at that time, this time, Sudan does not have any reserve of foreign money or exports, surplus in exports. We have a deficit. So this is in addition to what you said.
It's true. So what if you compare that one before the time of the extraction and the embargo of Sudan, that time of the economic embargo, and after 25th of October, maybe there is big differences in that, because that time it was a lot of isolation, as you mentioned, and a lot of completely isolation, completely extraction, completely it's been removed from the international community in economic and political and international relations. Sudan was absent from the international relations, and it's true that before secession of South Sudan, things it was very well because of the oil. Sudan is exporting 500,000 barrels per day. That is, it is really very good and strong for the economy. revenue for the economy, and the export is depending on 95% to the oil export our budget, and in GDP also the same way also it was, and even the currency was very stable that time, but after Southern Sudan, Session South Sudan, things completely became changed. This is why the regime started to come down until the
Very fast,
revolution
very
comes.
fast.
25th of October it really also is affected the international.
It had some effect because
Has effect definitely, because the international community has no reason that time before 25th of October just to support Sudan through the donors, through the international institution, and started just give them like Samarat, and started just to support the government in some sectors.
it started the process of the HIPIC.
The HEPIC also the same. The HEPIC initiative is started also to Sudan to be free from any.
It started the steps, genuine steps.
Yes, true, and also is going. That time was going to the debt relief also from debt relief from that side, but it started again, come back to the square one, and we should not be surrendered on that side. Even we have to look for solutions. We have to look for another alternative, because the political problem is still affected the economy so much. This is no doubt on that, and still no government, stable government. Still we have an acting government, which is cannot solve the problem. Which all the officials now, they are not qualified enough to at least to move to start to move the cabinet. Still we need a proper qualified technocrat or whatever, or expert to be at least to run the issue, and we have to at least to depend on internal. We have to depend on internal resources. We have a lot of resources internally in Sudan, because depending on international community, which is having a lot of problem, sometimes depend on political regime, which is who's ruling the Sudan, and it's really the people cannot wait for that for long. It's really for them, it's really suffering so much from the life. Now life became very hard, the education has become very hard, private education very hard, even the health itself, even the health sector and the side of the health is another problem, and many things many expenses is really in the back of the people of Sudan. So we have to look for a solution politically and economically, and we have to look also for how we solve the problem with a proper program in the next.
So you are saying that the political turmoil, the prevailing or the present political turmoil, lack of government, is adding insult to injury or aggravating the economic situation, the economic conditions, because we are not expecting, under the conditions, we are not expecting any help from any or assistance from any international community or institution. Plus, we are not expecting any intervention of the IMF or the World Bank to help, to give a helping hand, unless there is a democratic civilian government and political stability.
Stable cabinet is true, that's right. And we are in need of that so much, and very quickly we have to form our government, we have to form a civilian government, we have to form a civilian cabinet, at least to jump to the next issue. And we have to at least to organize our environment here, investment environment. We have to look for international IMF, FDI, foreign direct investment. That's a very important issue at this time. So we have to at least to renew and to develop our legislation investment code and all the laws of the investment. We have to renew that one. We have to look for international investor, international company, international foreign direct investment, at least in oil, especially in mining and agriculture. So we can do something, because we have a problem of agriculture itself, because agriculture is the only solution in Sudan now. We have to look for at least a cash crop in agriculture, and we have to look for food crops, and we have to look in informative industry also to support that, because we are in need of that, because exporting, importing a lot of commodities from outside is really also affecting our reserve, affecting our pound. So we have to look for a solution, at least a program, a proper program, so that we can, a rational program, so we can solve the problem. Because also depending on international, until the international community come back, we have to look for something else. But the problem now, we don't have a government. That's a problem. The main
big
issue now,
problem.
we have to look for form a civilian government.
So you are not seeing
That is the base of the who is going to manage, in fact, by the way, but without government. The one who's going to manage that, to speak to the international community, to international institution, to IMF, to international bank, only the cabinet, the proper cabinet.
To contact, to have
contact to all of them.
Now we lost contact
We
completely.
need a proper private sector, at least, to look for investor from outside, to give them at least projects, proper projects, with a strategic project for the next few months. We have to look for a solution, because otherwise we'll be like that, and people is really starting to immigration.
Leaving the country. Many people are leaving the country.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's very, very bad. It's really, Sudan have a lot of resources like that, and all of our money outside now, more than 30 billion US dollar, because Sudanese business and business saved outside. And
Kept outside.
Yes, all of it is outside now, in neighboring countries. So kept outside in
About 30
neighboring
billion.
countries.
30 billion?
Not less than that.
Not less than 30
Not less,
billion of
US dollar.
Sudanese savings.
Yes,
Outside Sudan.
outside Sudan. That is, which is
In Malaysia, in
Turkey, in Egypt, in UAE, in different.
And expatriates are not willing to
expatriate,
transfer.
they will never transfer money in Sudan at this time, in this instability and no stable regime now at this time. So they have to look for this is a saved money which is being there sitting for coming back to Sudan. So a lot of, that is annually.
It's very bad. It's very sad.
It's really very bad and very sad. In fact, our money is sitting idle outside and being invested outside, and another country is really benefiting from that one, and our people and our banks and our economy is not benefiting from that one.
Very alarming.
Very alarming. So much.
Okay, Dr. Yasser, let us move to another point. This is very alarming and very disappointing that the political turmoil is continuing, coupled with it the deterioration of the economy and in the services, the basic services.
It needs a
power,
decision,
water.
strong decision. It needs confidence. It needs trust to the institution, our institution, because nobody is trusting our institution to keep his money here in Sudan. So that is an issue.
So we have the resources, but we don't have the people to manage it, or the system to manage it.
If this money come back to Sudan, we'll never go to the international institution.
Next time.
Or no?
Time.
Yes, it's right.
Okay, Dr. Yasser, let us move to another something weird. People are really concerned about the inflation. As an economist, first tell us about how inflation is measured. Because I tell you some figures, I have some figures here. Inflation it reached in July last year, July, 1 year back, it reached an unprecedented level of 422% inflation, which never happened in about 43 years. It did not happen in the country. In April this year, the Statistic Bureau, the Central Statistic Bureau, announced that the inflation came down to 220. Okay. Then after that, in May, they say it came down to 192. In June last month, they said it came to 184. So as if they are talking about a continuous reduction, which is not manifested in the reality. I don't know how they measure prices. People are suffering. Prices are going up. What is the what is the criteria? The inflation rate is calculated by the Central Bureau of Statistics, and people started to worry. Even economists started to doubt the credibility of the figures issued by the Central Bureau of Statistics.
Central Bureau of Statistics is responsible about the issuing this inflation.
This information.
Yeah, it's responsible about that.
How is it measured?
It is being measured, you know, as you know that if the way you have just read the figures from 422 to maybe to 300 something to
No, I mean,
20.
because as economists, not let us a little bit forget Sudan now. Generally, as an economist, what is the easiest way to measure the inflation?
The criteria and the measurements of that one from the prices of the commodities.
Prices of any commodity.
Commodities of not and starting from the food commodities for the life day commodities like wheat, like bread, like
compare the price.
oil, cooking oil, like that one. That is the main issue.
It's the only way to measure the
That's
inflation.
the only way. So coming back to the maybe to the fuel, because the fuel is part of the production of these commodities, of food commodities, in the central and in the states also of Sudan, like other states in Sudan. Also that one you have to measure here and there and there. Even meat inside the meat also and an animal also production also inside, like milk, like maybe oil, like yogurts and all that. That because the daily consumption of the people. That's when the only to measure that is from the food.
Food
Consumption.
food stuff.
Yeah, food stuff. That one all if it should be like is the daily food stuffs, the needs of the life of the people, not other maybe extraordinary something like maybe you talk about
Luxuries.
luxuries. This not that like chocolate, like not that one. Only the food for the people. I don't know. Maybe it looks like politics start in internal interfere in the Bureau of
It seems that because now everybody knows that the
because
prices
me
of-
myself as economist, I'm not trusting that indicator. I
You are
cannot
not
trust it
trusting.
100% because that is it is a very dangerous also. Not trust that indication because indicator is very important in the economic. It's very important. So if you give very false and forged figure on the indication to the economy, like inflation, it is really making so much treating the stability of the economy itself. So you have to be very trustable. You have to be very confident in that. You have to give proper, like your budget of the bank. You have to give proper figure, the profit, loss, and whatever. So if you have put it, it's transparent. It should be very transparent. From long time, in fact, by the way, Sudan having problem in that side of indication of
the economy.
of the economy.
One of the best. One of the
like
important.
gross also itself also. Sometimes the central bank issuing and Minister of Finance the same, GDP the same. Also, we have to be very careful on that because the international bank has. So annually for the whole countries, 55 countries, for example, in the African continent, has that indication of that, like GDPs, like growth, like annual growth, like inflations, like all this, and the pricing. The pricing is soaring so much and increasing so much, and the inflation is decreasing. So that looks like cannot work together. But that one is really, maybe they have right on that because there is a recession on that side. It looks very clear, the recession in the economy, very clear. People, there is reduction on buying and selling in consumption of products. people not like before because they cannot afford to buy all the things, all the needs like before. If you buy, by the way, 2 kilos of, 3 kilos of milk before, now you cannot afford that when you buy only 1 kilo or half a kilo. So that one is really is a part of a calculation of the Bureau of Statistics. So maybe they're calculating like the same way. People, they don't buy, but they expect that that's part of the.
So this will lead to well, just now I got
That's
you.
they mix the recession with the indication of the.
I got it. You are saying that inflation is always accompanied by recession.
Yes.
Recession means
Yeah.
People cannot buy the commodities.
Yes. Yeah.
The
goods,
merchants or
yeah.
the traders or the factories, they go and play a little bit and reduce their profit, their margin profit. So the indication is not very correct because of the recession. Prices went down. Maybe
And the demand is reducing
because
now.
the demand
Yes, less demand now this time. This is why they're calculating from that side.
the traders. So that's why, yes, I remember I read last week. I listened in the newspaper that one of the Minister of Commerce, he said that the import reduced by 50%.
More than that. Today
Nobody is importing anything.
It's 70% now today.
Import.
Which is very dangerous because there is a lot of production tools, a lot of production.
So this is very bad. This is a very bad sign.
Yes, yes, that's a problem.
Maybe that's why the dollar, a little bit to some extent, it is
It's stable. The dollar is stable because
nobody wants a dollar
Yes,
because nobody
true.
is prepared to import
Because of the
something
import, yes.
which he cannot sell. So maybe the traders, they reduce their prices, and this is reflected in the index of the Bureau of Statistics.
They don't reduce the price, I think so. There is no reduce or no reduction in that, but
The margin of their profit.
maybe the margin of the profit, maybe, but the demand is not like before, and they have problem. They have a lot of recession in the goods there, in their shelves there. Still the goods are there. Nobody can export more because there is no demand. There is no market for them. This is why they start to just reduce the import from outside to 70%, which is and this 70% maybe 50% of it.
Okay, Prof. Doctor, this is very important, very important. I remember very important. Now, if people started or not importing, they will create some kind of scarcity. So as economists, scarcity also leads to high prices. Scarcity, for example, if you want to buy medicine, and if there is a scarcity, if you want to buy a fridge or a cooler, and if it's not available, the scarcity will lead to
It's true to
high
hide the
price.
to increase
So
the price.
it's a very
It's true
complex.
that there is part of it like fridge, like other commodities, which is not which is not the needs of the daily needs, like fridge, like electronics, things like that. This should definitely the price will go up because.
Inelastic.
Which is the goods which is there is not like before because there is a lot of goods is in the market now. But now the problem, the scarcity taking the price to the higher side. But the problem now is the local production food and the local production commodities. That one also having a lot of problems in importing maybe the production tools, the production materials like the
Spare parts.
yes, true, like spare parts and like oil industry, cooking oil industry, like wheat industry, because there is a lot of things which you have to do with bread, with whatever is imported side. So that is a mixing between recession, between the inflation. This is why we are getting now inflation is going down like that. Now is 150 or 170. But we want to see the end of the year, what the IMF say, what the international bank say in inflation in Sudan. Is it going to indicate the same way? Because here, international bank has his own calculation also. Is it the same? Sometimes even our institution take from the international bank the indication of the indicator of the inflation, GDP, maybe also the gross itself, how it's going to be calculated. But according to me, I need maybe for the Bureau of Statistics the manager or the general manager or the general director to come back and to explain to the people how he became like that in 2055, which is very strange, in fact, by the way. It came
So,
there.
so as if you are saying that the reduction of the inflation is not enough to indicate that the economy is started to
People
to
doesn't know
revive.
that.
It does not mean
What,
that.
they don't know what the inflation. They know what the price, how the price going down. How going to the bread to get the bread today between the one
Price and availability, not scarcity.
Yeah, it's
They
true.
want abundance in the commodity at affordable price to the majority of the people.
The itself, even the currency with 1,000 is really increase the should increase the inflation, because 1,000, how you issue 1,000 and you remove the rest of the 20 to 50, we are going to 100 now to be removed from the market now. That is very dangerous, in fact, and very risky, in fact. This is also leading to the inflation, because now all the world now going to the electronic payment, and you are issuing now 1,000 from
No.
500 to 1,000 in one time. That is really is getting our currency is getting lost, a lot of loss in that. Definitely getting lost.
Losing
Is losing so
value.
much. Yes, it's getting lost so much in that, because now it has no value. The 1,000 you get 2 bags. You say take it like that with 1,000 US dollar. So that is so much. It's really dangerous in our currencies, and treating our currency so much, because 1,000 for this economy, and this economy, which is the budget for it is an annual budget, or the GDP. It's not even, you can say, something very reasonable. It's really harming the economy so much. This, especially this 1,000. It's not.
Not a good decision. Okay, okay. Let us move to another important issue of Bank of Sudan. Bank of Sudan now is shouldering the responsibility of availing the foreign money to the importers, whether they are import of raw material to industry, or whether to basic commodity, or whether to medicine. So Bank of Sudan, they are saying that by availing, by intervening to avail this money, this will curb or will reduce the value of the foreign money, like the dollar, in the market. So they think if they continue on this, the value of the Chinese pound will be high or will be stronger. But can they continue on this policy of availing the foreign money to the importers to import?
It will be very difficult.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. It will be very difficult. Continues like that. At least giving the trading banks and commercial bank all the needs of the medicine or of importing of the commodities. It is not. This is not the best way it's not best way policies. This is policies just like treatment on just maybe temporary treatment, but it should not be continuously. Because up to when you're going to support that, up to when you're going to do that. It's true there is stability in dollar. There is stability in our pound. It's still the pound stable.
But stable at high level.
It's stable at high level, but it's at least stable. Stability also is not bad. It's a good issue. But up to when? So you have to form another issue, another program, another policies, at least how to attract more currencies, how to attract more international currencies, how to attract.
How?
You have to do something. You have to
Some
go.
people,
You have to
because
go to investment. You have to look for.
Before that, Dr. Yasser, some people like you, economists, they think that onto politicians, you have first, if you want to have a real change, you have to go to the civil governance, complete civil governance, so that you will attract the commendation of the international financing systems. As you said in the beginning of the episode, that international assistance stopped completely after 25th October. Now these people, they share you the same idea, that the best way is to expedite the political process and form a civilian government with the promise or with the pledge of the military component that they will withdraw completely from the scene as soon as people come to a consensus of forming a civilian government. So at that time, when there is a civilian government like that of Hamdouk at the beginning, the international community will give a helping hand. So these people, and you are one of them, without this step, without reunion with the international community, the economy, whatever you do, it will not
It's
recover.
true, that's right. They have to come to consensus, they have to come together, you have to be consolidated units at least to do something. They have to form a government, rational government from the whole political parties or the whole political communities, and to lead us to at least to the technocrat government and civilian government, so that we can. But the problem now, even the international community now, and the international situation is really in a very bad way after the COVID-19 and the war between Russia and Ukraine. The international community really is in problem now because of a lot of UK started just to choose the Brexit, and the rest of European countries now is in problem now, like France, like maybe Italy, and the rest of and even American also have so much problem international finance, and I don't think expecting that getting finance from international community at this time, because all the international community is really suffering from a lot of problems in the war of Ukraine, and even international community even suffering from also the problem of shortage of finance. There is a problem of that according to the situation in Wall Street, in Central Bank of European Central Bank. Most of the countries now they have internal problems now. They can't afford to give another country at this time. We have to look for a solution at how can we get the relief of the debt of Sudan? How can we get investors? At least we have to concentrate on investors from neighboring countries or from Sudan friends, like maybe China, like another rest of the German, like maybe BRICS countries. Maybe they can come and invest in Sudan. So because of the problem, even Gulf area, we are in need of them to come and invest in Sudan, in agriculture, in mining, in oil even itself. But the problem, we have to look, we have to put a proper vision for our economy. Okay. Otherwise, we never move more. Okay. We never move steps. We have to put a vision and proper vision and strategic. So we have what from 2 years or 3 years where we want to go.
Okay.
To reach to where?
If you remember the budget, if I remember the budget of 2022, which was about 7 months ago, they put a target of reducing the inflation to about 200.
Yeah.
200%, about 200%.
Yeah. And
so now, as according to the figures which we discussed this now, it is almost about this. So do you think that the budget is working well, although people are not feeling that? What does this mean?
I don't think this is randomly just.
This is random.
It's randomly luck. It's not by because we didn't see any program in our side. The short program, the medium program is starting just to. It's true that, but the budget itself alone cannot work. We never work. Never. The budget is annually issue, an annually program, annually act and law. So you need a support. Support should come from program. Otherwise, program is going to do this and do that and do that, and how the budget itself going to face the inflation, and how it's going to front the inflation itself alone. It cannot work, because this is something it will work with production. Working with how to attract the expatriate money. I was going to do in production, in agriculture, in mining, in oil, in services, whatever, in real sectors. So but it came like that, but I don't know how it came. Nobody knows, but
that is not an indication anyhow, by luck or whatever, but people are not feeling like that. I'm not feeling
because now the economic sector doesn't have any program now, because moving just like that with the budget itself alone it will never work like that. So we have to look for a proper program like 3 years program or 2 years program or 1 year program at least. Support only the budget.
Yes.
So you have to put at least reserve this year to 2022 about 5 billions. I need just to put from gold about 25 tons. I want to put like that. So you have to target. This is without program cannot work.
Okay. Dr. Yasser, we have a very important issue which was it's causing a little of concern to many people about the Jazeera scheme, the cotton, the Jazeera scheme, which was established by the British colonization on 1925, and it was established as a partnership between the government and the farmers. The government have about 1,300,000 acres, and for the farmers
sector.
about 900,000. So this worked well for quite a long time. It worked well till just before the hostage regime.
Yeah.
It was working. Now, as we all know, that the hostage regime worked systematically to destroy the Jazeera scheme, and it succeeded in doing that, and growing the wheat, and irrigation system failed. And railways. It was systematic destruction anyway by the hostage regime. Okay. Now there is another thing, another concern that the Minister of Finance, I think he announced, or he asked the governor of the Jazeera scheme that to entertain the idea of bringing the whole scheme to the Minister of Finance, to change it as a corporation, as a government corporation owned by the Minister of Finance. A lot of people, they raised their concern, and they categorically denied, and they did not accept this, because it's not only the government, there is another partner, the farmers. So what is your comment on this decision, that bringing back the Jazeera scheme, making it a corporation, public corporation, owned by the Minister of Finance? People that say that's something very serious and very dangerous.
A lot of people now from the government, especially for the Minister of Agriculture itself, not Minister of Finance, they're really running after the Jazeera scheme to become to be attached to the Ministry of Agriculture and responsible by Ministry of because who is going to own the Jazeera scheme? Minister of Finance, but it's not going to operate it. It's going to be operated by Ministry of Agriculture, and the Ministry of Agriculture itself is another disaster even itself, because it's not working anything. Minister of Agriculture, from very long time, I think so, is doing well in the agriculture. Jazeera scheme is 1,200,000 or 300,000
acres
and 700 to the private sector. Is a good maybe combination between both of them. But the problem, who is going to manage the government? How can they going to manage it? By those official in the Ministry of Agriculture is going to at least to bring the expert to do that one. Who is going to do that one, to manage the partnership between them? This is going to be another problem. In fact, by the way, that's going to be Jazeera scheme. It will go to hell, I think so, after that.
Yes, but
I
think so. I agree with you.
They're going to finish it completely.
A very bad thinking.
Maybe according to me, there is maybe another hands from outside.
Foreign.
They want to destroy Sudan. They want to destroy. Jazeera scheme
or Doctor, it is a step to full privatization of the scheme itself, to private companies.
For privatization, the problem is we have very weak private sector.
No, not privatization, Sudan. No.
Internationally, maybe. But the problem, Mr. Harris, that may be going to take us to the national security also itself.
Yes.
This is very dangerous to give it to another foreign side, also another, because going
so
to
you
take us
not
to
agree to
I think so, because we can manage it internally. Jazeera scheme is really 70% is ready. You need to just to renew the channels for the water, the irrigation, the whatever, and the infrastructure itself. We need investors at least to come to do the infrastructure of the Jazeera scheme. Especially the old system is completely finished now. You can't work with that system like channels, like all those stuff, whatever. That cannot work at this time. So you have to look for a new irrigation system. That's one by the maybe different one now by his teams.
Sprinklers.
Yes, that's the new one. So you have to look for a new technology how to do the infrastructure of that one. You have to look for. You need a proper research centers. You are in need of centers and labs there, proper one internationally and with a full technology. So that you have to start with that one. Then you have to start with another study. For the Jazeera scheme, you have to re-study the regime, the project itself from A to Z, because now we don't know what is the international market needs, what is the international exchange rate, what is the international market commodities now is crops cash crops one, and what do you need from internally in your transformative industry? You need what do you need? What do you need for the food crops? So you have to re-study the project from A to Z. You have to bring international research and for studies, international house come and do the studies in Sudan, do visibility studies in Sudan for the project itself, because the project itself at this way it will never work, because they've changing from side to side, to from sometime to cotton, to wheat, to maybe to soya beans, to nobody knows what is who is planning for them, who is planning for who. That's another issue. So who's planning? Is it Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance? Is it the private sector? Are they the farmers? Who is that? We need a vision, a proper vision from that program to target what we need to the international market, to international. We need to go. How we going to get to WTO with that? The production cost itself it is very high now.
So you are, because we have few minutes to go. So you are. I agree with you. You are not in favor. We are not accepting changing
absolutely,
this.
Absolutely.
You have to maintain. You are thinking that the partnership between the farmers, the government to be maintained, and investors for the rehabilitation on any basis, food based or any basis, to come and invest, but still the partnership and the ownership to continue. That is why
to continue the same way.
It is something weird. I agree.
To continue the same way, at least we can bring the banks.
Okay. We have our last question, Dr. Yasser Ahmed. This is a very important question about the investment. What is your vision? What is your comment on the? Everybody knows that Sudan has a potential for raw material, resources, vast resources in almost everything, agricultural, livestock, and everything. So what is your vision on, or your comment on how to attract investors to come to Sudan? In about 2 minutes, we have 2 minutes.
You have to put a proper policies. You have to renew the act of the investment. You have to put a proper act, legalization of the investment. You have to make a stability. Investment without stability cannot work. Without policy stability, without security stability, we need to at least to put the environment well. We have to at least to put all the infrastructures. We have to look for to start from the scratch investment in infrastructures for roads, railways, and all this is we are in need of that, because Sudan, as you know, that from border to border is 2,000, 3,000 kilometers. We need a proper infrastructure to investment. And we need a vision. We don't have a vision even on that. What is the priority of which side of investment? As it is, Jazeera scheme is there. Nobody knows where the priority of the crops, priority of the production, from starting from where to there, and who is training the people, who is going to start the laboratory, who is going. We need a package, full package, investment package, and map for the whole investment in Sudan, in livestock, in agriculture, in mining, in oil itself, in maybe in technology also we are in need of, we need also. So we have to look for experts, at least to sit and to give us a proper investment code, investment production, and priorities of where you invest. We start from where, because how are we going to support the economy at this time? Is it by livestock? Maybe you can start with livestock. Only livestock, because there is a lot of countries now like Holland, like Netherlands, like Denmark. Is only all the GDP is and the
On
economic is
livestock.
in livestock. So we like Australia also, Canada. So we have to see where to look where we cannot like walking like that randomly like that without vision.
We
Without
have both. We have the livestock and we have the land.
we have the lands and
And we have the underground minerals.
and this is needs, in fact, by the way, it doesn't need a lot of efforts. Like we need laboratories, proper laboratories. We need a proper research centers. We need experts themselves trained. We need to import also experts from these countries like Australia, like where, so they have for us a vision like Brasilia now. Brasilia is now is jumped so much in that and Brasilia the disease of the economy of Brasilia, it looks like our problem, like the sickness of it. So if we look at Brasilia like as an example, Brazil is the same. Brazil is where now? Brazil has become now one of the biggest emerging country in the world now, and having so much reserve
Strong economy.
in gold. Yes, in the economy. So we have to look for a vision. Our problem now, we don't have a proper vision. All the governments come without vision, without strategic vision. That's the issue.
Okay, that's very good, Dr. Yasser Abed. We covered a lot. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour or so, talking about the economy of the country, the deterioration, with our guest, Dr. Yasser Abed. Thank you, Dr. Yasser Abed. Thank you, dear viewers. Hope to see you next week in different issue. Bye.